You're doing it in the wrong order. If you're trying to lose weight by forcing yourself to eat less, but you haven't learned how to stop overeating, binge eating, or emotional eating first, you're not failing. You're trying to skip a step. And that's why weight loss keeps turning into this exhausting cycle. Restrict, rebel, overeat, panic, start over, repeat. Today, I'm teaching you one of the core frameworks from Set Point Restore. It's called the MEL Framework, M-E-L, more, enough, and less. And once you understand it, you'll see why learning how to maintain, learning how to stop at enough is not the thing that you do after weight loss. It's actually the thing that makes weight loss possible. You're listening to the Set Point Science Podcast, the show where we break down the biology of midlife weight loss so you can finally drop the weight sustainably and permanently. Before we sketch out the MEL Framework on the iPad, if you've been struggling to keep weight off, your body might be stuck in what I call high weight defense. I created a quick 60-second assessment to help you figure out exactly where your metabolism is at right now. You can grab it at setpointscience.com/test. Let's get into the framework. Now, if you're listening to the audio-only version of this podcast, I want you to know that I'm sketching this out on my iPad right now as I speak. I'm going to describe what I'm writing. If you want the full visual, head over to my YouTube channel to watch the breakdown. Okay, the MEL Framework. I've been teaching this for a long time. So every time that we eat, whether it's a meal, a snack, a day's worth of eating, a week's worth of eating, a month's worth of eating, even a year or a decade, we have either eaten more than we needed, enough to maintain our weight, or less than we needed. So then we ended up losing weight. So this is simple math, this framework, but I'm going to explain how this fits into complex lives and how we can use it even if we have a lot of stuff going on in our life. Now, the diet industry is typically going to be selling us this idea that it's just calories in, calories out, right? All you have to do is eat less if you want to lose weight. The problem is that we actually have lives. We don't do this stuff in a vacuum. So the complexity of our lives, the complexity of our nervous systems create the conditions in which we're either able to do the calories in, calories out thing or not. And if it were just that simple, everyone would be at their goal weight. So clearly there's more to this picture. The reality is that we do have this nuance that we need to take into account. Our stress levels. I tend to work with women who are between 40 and 70 years old, and we have a whole host of things, right? Our hormones are shifting. We might be experiencing health issues. We might be having to start taking care of our own parents or helping our adult children or even having young children. Our nervous system might be in a state of overwhelm. We might be having high stress. We might just have a really tough job. There's a lot of responsibilities that come in this midlife time of life. So we have to be able to figure out how each one of us can individually lose weight in order to feel our best with all of these things taken into account. We're not just going to say, hey, it's calories in, calories out. And if you can't do it, there's something wrong with you. That's not it. Over time, what ends up happening is as a woman goes through her life, maybe we've had a lot of restriction over the years, trying to diet, new ways of eating, new ways of exercising to push weight loss for whatever reason. When we've been forcing weight loss, no holds barred for many decades over and over again in different ways, our nervous system actually learns, just like it's learning to ride a bike, it learns that we're going to do restrictive stuff on a regular basis. Over the years, it pushes harder to make you stay where you are. This is what we talk about when we're calling a set point or homeostasis, that the body wants to stay where it is so that it can remain safe. When we do forceful measures, the body and the brain, the nervous system start to feel unsafe. And then they start to anticipate what you're doing because they're good at seeing that pattern in you. The more we've done this pattern over the years, the smarter our brain gets and the more forceful it can get to make sure that we don't lose weight too quickly. If you've struggled with your weight over the last however many years, this is exactly what's going on. It's called weight defense. If we're trying to lose weight and we're not addressing what's going on in our real life, we're just trying to force, we're going to increase the weight defense over time. So let's talk about how we get around this. Let's break down these sections. So let's talk about the more area. What do I mean when I say more? I mean overeating. We're eating more than we need. This can look like overeating. It might be emotional eating. It might be binging, procrastination, celebration, boredom. Doesn't matter why we overeat, but all of these reasons that we overeat are going to keep us in this cycle of weight gain. These things are all driven by emotion, not biological need. And what happens is it creates this feeling of intensity, of an urgency. And then we start to believe that we can't stop. And this is all going to lead to weight gain, okay? So that is the more area here. Now let's talk about enough land. This is what you could think of as the safe harbor. What we're doing here is we're eating just enough to maintain where we are. So we're not overeating, we're not undereating. The key characteristic about this state here is that it's actually calm and it's neutral. This is peaceful. Enough land is calm, peaceful neutrality. And so you know that if you don't feel calm and neutral and peaceful about your food at all times, we're not in enough land yet, okay? We're probably flipping back and forth between more land and then less land, which is what we'll look at next. Okay, so enough is eating just enough to maintain your weight. So for instance, husband brings home a bag of chips and we don't go crazy. We don't have a ton of them and feel very urgent about them. Or say someone has a birthday party that we have to go to, we're stressing out about it. If we don't feel calm about all the situations that come up in our life, we're not quite in enough land yet. You'll know because it's an emotional state. Okay, let's talk about less land. This is what we might call restriction. We're just going to put simply here, under eating. There's a spectrum of under eating. There's calm, rational, on purpose under eating in order to lose weight. Then there's push, restriction, force, new diet, energy, very intense behavior. What we're actually looking for is that first version. It's that calm, little bit of weight loss on a regular basis, quite easy, not a problem. We don't have to think about it too much. We are trying to learn to get away from the other end, which is that push, I'm in college and starving myself energy, right? So this is weight loss land. I want to point out an idea about the emotionality of these three sections. I mentioned the middle section is about calm, a lack of emotion, neutrality. When I described the more area, we were talking more about intense feeling of lack of control, out of control. So this is out of control. This is calm, in control, but easy control, not push control. This is calm, neutral. And less land is push, force type of energy, forceful, unnatural. If we are a chronic dieter, we are stuck in this trap of going between more to less, to more to less. Overeat, emotional eating. Oh, I just can't take it. I'm so tired. To less, like push, force. I'm going to do a cleanse. I'm going to do a challenge. I'm going to get really strict, right? It's more eating and less eating, more eating and less eating. And what that creates over time is this kind of a look. Very jagged, right? Very up and down, very like, oh, I'm the worst person in the world. And oh my gosh, I got this. Oh, I'm the worst person in the world. I got this. And so we have this very emotional push-pull of never get this. There's something wrong with me too. I totally got this. I'm perfect. No problem. See, there's no calm there. There's no calm in any of that. We might feel like there's a little calm at certain points in that journey. Like, okay, whatever, I'll just eat whatever. We think that's calm, but that's actually apathy and giving up. We might think there's calm when we've decided to do that challenge and we feel calm about it for that first few days. And then our weight defense kicks back in, right? And then we're like, I need to treat myself. I had a really rough week. So what do we actually want here? Most people will try to counteract what they've done in more land by going to less land. This creates that violent kind of pendulum swing and it keeps your set point exactly where it is because you gain 5 pounds, you lose 10, you gain 5 back, and you're kind of always where you are. You look back a year and you've either gained weight or you're exactly where you started. So here's what I'm talking about in this video. You cannot fix this more overeating thing, this pattern that we have with less and the push kind of intense thing. The antidote to having too much more eating is to learn enough first. How to be calm, peaceful, easygoing about our food. That's the skill we're missing. Let's imagine we're in calm, peaceful, neutral land. Let's think about the next 30 years of our life. In this time period, what do we actually want? Every client I've ever talked to, what they really want is peace about food. They don't want to have to go to a party and dread what's going to be there and plan everything out and have to use willpower and have to use discipline and mess up and then hate themselves again. They don't want that push-pull. What we really want is calm peace so that we can go to any party, any holiday party, any surprise party, anything we weren't planning. We can go on vacation. We can be at a conference. We can go through any food situation and not overdo it. We want to be able to just eat the right amount. And we also don't want to have to feel structured and stressed out and forceful for our whole life. No, what is actually the skill is learning enough land, calm, peace, being able to be chill at a party, being able to be chill and not bothered by the ice cream truck coming down the street, right? So that's the skill we're skipping because we're just trying to go straight to less. So when we're on a weight loss journey, we might be starting where our weight is going up, right? And we're overeating and binging and emotional eating, weight is going up. Then we try to go straight to less land so we can get right back to where we were and even further. But because this is so intense, we can't maintain it. So then what ends up actually happening is we might get here and then we go back up again, or even higher, right? And then we're doing this thing for years until finally we're at a weight we just can't even understand how we got here. We push too hard to try to fix exactly what just happened. Now, if I could just make this get fixed, then everything will be fine. But it is that intensity of feeling that we cannot replicate and sustain over 30 years. We need the thing that we can sustain over 30 years, which is enough land. So here's how we really do it. We start off in more land. We learn how to do enough, and then less happens on its own. Here's where it gets a little crazy, okay? So we start off in more land. We're binging, overeating, emotional eating, etc., stress eating. We learn how to get rid of all of these things. And this is what I teach in my program. And I know it works because I did it for myself and I've done it for many other clients over these years. I used to be a huge binge eater for decades. Doritos, Oreos, M&Ms, all the things. And I felt like I never had control. So I would just push really hard. And when I was younger, I could lose the weight. But now that I'm in my 40s and I've got hormonal stuff going on, it's just not possible to do that push that I used to do anymore. So here's what actually works. If we learn to undo all the emotional eating and we can come to a place of chill, here's what's fascinating. Weight loss will happen on its own, what I call passively. But imagine if you got rid of all of your overeating, or like 95% of it. If you just weren't an overeater anymore, then let's say you go to a party, you just eat the right amount for you and you can maybe maintain that day. So that day was a maintenance day. Fine. What'll end up happening is later on in the week, we don't go to a party every single day. Later on in the week, we might have a day where we're super busy and food doesn't mean that much to us. So we end up under eating a tiny bit. This is what I mean by passive. We're not trying to make something happen. We're going to create a rhythm in our life, which is what we learn in enough land. After we've learned to undo all the stress eating, we're going to learn how to be calm about food so that we have a rhythm that's repeatable and simple to do no matter what's going on in our life. When everything is hitting the fan, we can still repeat this rhythm. As we do this, we learn this enough land, we become more calm about food, then less eating happens on its own. It is so beautiful. All right, so I'm going to just draw here a little 7-day chart so we can look at a week of what this might look like. Okay, so I've written out the days. Let's take a look mathematically at what could happen here. If we've gotten really good at enough land, right? We're good at not overeating, binge eating, emotional eating, stuff like that. Then let's say we're able to pull off enough eating, say 5 days of the week. And so I've written an E underneath the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday slot. Now, on a day like where we have just enough eating, we're not going to gain or lose any weight. We're going to maintain our weight. So I'm just going to put zeros underneath each of those days. So no change on these days. Now, let's say because we're busy on Wednesday and Saturday, those end up being less days, meaning under eating a little bit. And remember, we don't do that push forceful stuff anymore. So we're not going to be doing this big, massive famine fast kind of stuff anymore. We're just going to create a little bit of under eating. There's actually a tool that I teach called gentle nighttime hunger. This isn't something that we force. This is something that happens automatically with our rhythm. And then this is actually what's going to create that weight loss. So let's say that we have less eating on 2 of the days just because we're so busy and we don't even have time to really think about it. And it's easy to get to bed with just a little bit of hunger. Now, on a day like this, a typical person will lose somewhere around 0.25 pounds or 0.33 pounds, so maybe quarter, half a pound. So let's just go on the low end. We'll say 0.25. So negative 0.25 here and negative 0.25. I've written those underneath Wednesday and Saturday. So now if we go and we add up all the weight loss, so all these days will cancel themselves out. And then we add these 2 up. And in total that week, without any force, without having to do a 10-day challenge or fasting or something like that, we were able to pull off a half a pound in a way that was completely sustainable, in a way that actually felt good and didn't feel hard at all. This is how we can create simple, sustainable weight loss as time goes on. Now, when you first start getting really good at this enough land, being in enough eating, you will be able to pull off weeks like this. As you get better at being in enough land, this only gets better. So you might end up accidentally having 4 or 5 less days without even managing anything, without even trying. And let's say we had 4 or 5 less days. That's a pound, pound and a half, pound and a quarter over the course of a week. And if we do that regularly by the end of the year, we might be down 50 pounds. That's a good amount of weight loss for someone who keeps having the same weight every month or losing some weight really quickly and gaining it right back. That is a fast rate of weight loss, 50 pounds a year, right? And you didn't have to use any trackers. You didn't have to count anything. You didn't have to add anything in. Like everyone's always saying, we have to count your calories. You have to food journal. You have to do all these things. No, we're not adding anything. And that's why it's sustainable. The tools that I teach to take you from more land to enough land, they're all stuff that you do in your head. And they're all stuff that you've always had the ability to do, but it's just no one ever taught you how to do it yet. That's why you can do it in your head. So none of those intense things create permanent change. When it's inside of you and it's coming from you in an easily automatic kind of a way, that's sustainable. That's long-term permanent stuff. This is what we call interoception, which is internal perception. Being able to see all this stuff, where we're at. Did we eat more than we needed? Did we eat a little bit less? Did we eat enough? You're going to get so good at that it's just going to be second nature, as it has been since you were a toddler or since you were an infant. You drink a bottle, you stop the bottle when you're full. This is a skill that you have, that you've always had, but you've gotten out of touch with it. And we've been told so many lies from the diet industry that it started to make us think that there was something wrong with us, when there was never anything wrong with us. It was never our willpower, our discipline, our lack of emotional robustness or something like that. It's never been about that. It's been that we have been taught to do this in a way that was too overwhelming with a busy, beautiful life. The goal is learning how to be able to perceive what's going on in your body at any moment and just have that become natural instead of work. Because once you stop overeating for good, the weight loss part becomes the easiest part left. So look at the math that we just did. When you eradicate that more land, you are left with calm, repeatable, enough land. And from that place of safety, weight loss becomes passive. You don't need calorie counters, tracking apps, or endless journaling. You just need to learn how to listen to your body. If you're ready to stop fighting your body, to end binging or overeating for good, and to find true neutrality around food, I want to invite you to join us in Set Point Restore. It's my monthly coaching membership, and if you just give me 3 months, we will completely rewire your relationship with food. Head over to setpointscience.com/restore to get started. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know down below, which zone have you been living in lately? Has it been enough, or has it been flip-flopping between some of them? Until next time, remember, the key to sustainable weight loss isn't learning how to lose weight. It's learning how to live in enough first. Thanks for listening to the Set Point Science podcast. See you in the next one.